Okay, thank you guys for coming on a Saturday. We're super excited to do this. So we've actually been on like a call sprint this morning. We did an Emeralds call at 8 a.m. and then we just did the Sip and Sweat, which I know a few of you were on that with us. But basically the Sip and Sweats we're going to start doing most Saturdays, and it's not always going to be like me hosting it or Kinsley hosting it. We actually want to open up spots so whoever wants to host it can host it, especially if somebody's busy on a Saturday or whatever. But we're really excited about that, and I thought that was actually really fun. We just did the prep calendar for Transform 20 today, did hip hop abs, and nobody knew that until we like got on. So it was really quite entertaining because it's a really old school funny program, and it was just really fun. So anyway, we just did that. That's why we're all or I am all sweaty and disheveled. But I'm super stoked for what we're going to talk about today. So you guys know, all of you on here, and I know all of you, or your stories at least, and Lexi, I know we haven't met, but hi. Now we're meeting, like, well, I mean, we have met actually, but you know what I mean, like meeting on a Zoom call. So it's nice to see you here. But I'm really excited because you guys are really, have shown yourselves to be leaders on this team already, which is so dang exciting. And you're a huge part, honestly, every one of you, of why Made for Brave went elite this year. So wanted to say thank you, and that you guys should be really, really proud of the people that we've impacted this year. I think it's really incredible to think, you know, that Made for Brave has been a team for 2.5 years. The first year that I was coaching, no one on our team, including me, knew what elite even was. And we ended up in our like first full year hitting Premier and then hitting elite. But if there was one thing that I wish I did differently, it's that I wish I dreamed bigger sooner. So I really thank you guys, that if there's something that I can tell you guys ahead of time, it's to go all in like this is a $100,000 business, because it can be. Go in with that mindset right away, if you can, because for me, I didn't start out thinking that. I thought this was just a fun little side thing, and I think it's totally fine, right? Everybody's journey is going to be different, but hey, like if you want to make this a real substantial, I guess, source of fulfillment or of, you know, financial help in your life or all of your finances, then we're going to kind of talk about how to make that happen. But at the core of all of this, from the day that we started, Made for Brave has just been about impacting as many lives as possible. That is our mission, is helping as many people as we can to live healthier and more fulfilling lives, right? And so we give people those tools. Sometimes people might, you know, not use them to the best of their ability, including us sometimes, right? But we're giving people at least the tools and the ability to make it happen, instead of leaving them, you know, on their own desert island at their own gyms or whatever, you know, however that normally works out. So I'm really excited for the lives that we've impacted this last year. Geez, it's 2019. I feel like it's 2018 still, but so the lives we impacted in 2018, and now looking at 2019, you guys, I absolutely know that we are going to be impacting so many more lives. Our team has doubled in the last year. I honestly think we're going to triple or quadruple our size this year, 2019. And it's really, really exciting because now that our team has gone elite, we've had a couple premier teams on our team, I have absolutely no doubts that we need to, like I said, be dreaming bigger in order to impact more lives. And that it's not just about, because each of us are kind of like our own, like we're all a big part of Made for Brave, obviously, and we have teams even bigger than Made for Brave that like we're a part of as well. But we also all have our own little pods, and you guys are all able to build your own team to an elite status as well. And that's what we're looking at this year, is helping as many people replicate this elite status as possible. And if we're shooting for elite with this, you guys, even if, you know, it's something where you're shooting for elite, but you go premier or whatever like that, like what's so cool about this, you guys, is that as you're on a journey heading toward whatever goal you're heading for, right, the bigger you dream, the higher you're going to get. And I can guarantee you guys that in 2017, if I hadn't been pushing for elite, because that was my first year, about mid-year, I found out what elite was and I started pushing for it. And if I hadn't been pushing for elite, I would have never hit Premier, right? And I think the only reason we hit Premier is because I was really working for Elite. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. And I was going to go through a little analogy that I think makes this like really, really clear. So I know all of you on here are at least Emerald and you're working toward Diamond, or you're already at Diamond, or maybe you had Diamond for a little bit and it's fallen away. But what's so cool, you guys, is if you can be consistent and you can continually show up in this business, the longer you do that and with the less dips, right? Because every time you stop the vitals, you have to kind of I hate saying restart because you never have to restart. It's just like your fitness journey. You don't have to restart, but you do have to rebuild some of that momentum, right? And the longer you do this, the easier it gets. And I can tell you guys, coaches told me that at the beginning. I didn't really get it. And I didn't even feel like I started finding my groove until I was 18 months in. Like 18 months of being consistent. And then I was like, oh, this is actually like even more fun and even more easy and even more doable than I thought it was, right? But you have to continually show up. So a few things. So one thing I wanted to share was the car analogy that I heard recently. And it's talking about basically Emerald is like putting the key in your ignition. It's like having a car. It's like a great car and you put the key in, which is awesome. But like, that's what Emerald is, right? Diamond is like turning the, turning on the key or pressing on the gas, right? So it's actually getting your car to start moving. And what's so crazy is that like very often, and this is like a thing that I've noticed, not just in our team, but in the network, right? Sometimes we think like, okay, we get to Diamond and then we take our foot off the gas. But you guys, that's just when you're starting out. So if you like push the gas and then you let up, like you're just going to stop, you're still going to be in your driveway, right? So Diamond is really that pushing off point of pressing on the gas. And then 2-star is really where you start to see more of the income. You start to see more of like, okay, I really feel like I'm creating a substantial business here. And then Elite, if you're shooting for full-time income status, Elite is what you're shooting for, okay? And Elite can feel, Elite can feel really big and feel really hard, but let me tell you, if you've gone Diamond, and there are more than half the people on this call have gone Diamond. If you know how to go Diamond, you can help other people go Diamond, okay? So that's what's so cool, because all of this, right, is basically just Emerald's. It's just helping people make Emerald. That's all Elite is. That's all anything is, right? And we all know how to do that. So the other thing I was going to talk about is just making sure that you don't get caught up in how far you have to go, right? So where we can all have these big goals, right? And we can shoot for Elite, or like even for our team, we're not just shooting for Elite. I want to help at least 10 girls bring their business to Diamond and to start creating a substantial, sustainable income base. And I don't care where they're at in the downline, so I don't know what that'll do for my rank. It doesn't matter. But I want to help 10 girls. So what's so crazy though about that, you guys, right, is we can easily look at that and be like, oh my gosh, I'm only halfway there. How am I going to make this happen? Whatever, like all these things. But you don't have to look at the gap, right? You just have to push forward every day in those little incremental things that you can do, right, to push your business forward. So I was going to talk about the vitals of being a leader, because we all know the base vitals of being a Beachbody coach are 75% just about you, right? It's doing your workout, it's drinking your shake, it's doing personal development. And in my mind, like those, I know they're simple not to do. They're so easy not to do, because, you know, everybody thinks that we don't need to work on ourselves. Like that's just human nature, right? Or we think that we can do it tomorrow or whatever. But like those things, you have to find the discipline to show up in that way. If you're not doing those base vitals, including personal development every day, that is where you have to start. And I don't care how big your goals are, right? You have to start with those vitals. Once you have those though, everything else becomes so much easier. Inviting becomes easier. Being excited about what we do, you will not be excited if you're not using the products, right? And if you're not like feeling how good that all of this makes us feel, even if you're not investing in the community and our calls, right? It's going to be really hard to be like, oh, I love our community if you like never hang out with us. So like try to think about it that way is, again, as a leader, this is something that you are going to need to show up for. You're going to need to show up for team calls, and you're going to need to do these things. But what's so cool is we've made it so much easier now than it's ever been before to do this, right? I don't know if you guys noticed, but on our team calendar, I actually took away the weekly Made for Brave team calls. We added in these sip and sweats on Saturdays so that we can have community and just talk and then sweat it out together. We're going to be doing these occasional like leadership calls when we feel like we need them to address different levels of leadership on the team, right? We're going to be doing pop-up calls with, you know, specific things that we need help with, and I'm going to be going live, and Kinsley's going to be going live, and all of you hopefully will be going live more in the builders page to just share what's working for you. But I don't think this team needs more training. I really don't. I think this team just needs, I mean, honestly, I don't even think we need anything. We have everything that it takes, and it's just being excited about what we're doing and inviting more people to do it with us. That's honestly what this is. And so for me, I'm looking at what things can we do that make this more fun for me. I'm like, what would I have fun doing on a Saturday morning? And I'm like, you know what? It'd be really fun. And it just so happened that today was Hip Hop Abs, so that was actually extra hilarious because I just laughed for like 35 minutes and we were all sweating, and like Marlena was doing like crazy like hip thrust moves, and like it was just like so awkward and funny that I was like, this is like what makes me like, it makes me so excited. And then like looking forward to events like Super Saturday and freaking Summit, you guys, I like could cry with how excited I am. And then all the leadership things we have going down. So you guys know, and we are gonna, I need to post like more about it in the team page, but hopefully you guys all know that we're doing a Diamonds retreat in April for Made for Brave. And it's gonna be so much fun. I am so freaking excited. It's gonna be the first one we've done. And what's so cool is Kinsley and I actually just qualified for our first like leader retreat, just because our larger teams haven't done them basically since I joined 2.5 years ago. So I've never been on one until in like 2 weeks we get to go on Keisha's, right, in San Diego. And what's so cool is Keisha's been sharing all of the little details of some of the things she's doing, and I'm like stealing all the ideas, and I'm like, oh, and I get to take from like her team, and like I've become really good friends with Kate Schultz, who is like one of the top leaders in Beachbody, and I'm like throwing ideas off of her. I'm like, what do you do for your retreat and all this stuff? And you guys, it's gonna be epic, but you have to lock in, right? You have to lock in Diamond by the end of January 31st, and then you have to hold it for those 6 weeks. And part of that, right, is to help you sustain your business. If you hit Diamond and then you drop it, that actually, like, it's still awesome, right? But it doesn't do that much for you as a business unless you can hold it, and unless we can help you build that as a sustainable foundation. And so that's why once you hit Diamond, right, your next goal, and really what you guys should be looking ahead to, is 2-star. Because 2-star is where you're going to start seeing that substantial income, right? And like I said, Elite, if you're looking for full-time income and you're looking to quit your jobs, Elite is what you're shooting for, okay? And there's no doubt in my mind, like, there's no doubt in my mind that any of you that are on this call, and I don't know who's listening to the recording, so I can't promise that, but anybody that's on this call can do Elite. And what's so crazy, like, to give you guys a little background on why I look at our team and I'm like, you know what, we could have done this so much faster than we did. Not saying that faster is always best, right? Everybody's journey is going to look different, and that's totally fine. But I look at Kate, right, who started coaching less than a year ago. She's number 17 in the network, right? She started her Instagram account with 300 people. Do you know where I learned about Captivate? From her. She's grown her Instagram to 13,000 people. Do you know why though? Because she has not stopped. Every single day she shows up, and she has even challenged me where before I was doing 20 invites a day and I felt like that was a lot. She does 50 invites a day every day since the day she started coaching. When she started her journey and she had 25 pounds to lose, and she still was inviting people, right? So it doesn't matter where you're starting. It matters if you believe in what we're doing, right? And you're using the tools provided to you. So Captivate has changed the game. And if you guys haven't watched my live video that I did in the Brave Builders page yesterday or the day before, it's all about Captivate and how I use it. That has become one of my leadership vitals. I consider that like my free marketing. And no matter what, you guys, there have been nights where I've had 2 glasses of wine and it's 10:30 and it's like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I tell Jay, like, give me 10 minutes and I get on Captivate and I find a list of the people that I'm going to follow and I set it to start before I go to bed, right? Because I don't make excuses for this business, because I know that my dreams are something that I actually want to see come to fruition. And it's really, really easy, right, to push your stuff off every day. But you have to realize when you're pushing off that to-do list, you're actually pushing off your dreams. You're actually saying it actually doesn't matter to me if my family has, like for me, right, it's really important to me that my family has the income to when we want to go on vacation, we can go on vacation. It's really important to me that I don't have to sell my book to make money. Like I don't care if I make a cent for my book. And that's important to me as, if you want to call me an artist or whatever, right? But as somebody who wants to tell my story and I want to tell it true, I don't want to tell it the way that's just going to make the most money, right? It's really important to me that my kids get to go to school and that it's not going to be, a money thing on whether or not they go to private school, but like we get to decide based on what we think is best for them, right? So those are the things that for me, I look at our lives and I'm like, at any point, I could leave Beachbody, right, and do anything else I know I could as a human being. I actually don't have even a college degree. I have an associate's, whatever. But I know for a fact that I can get whatever job I want. I know that Jay he's got more college education than me, whatever. But he had an amazing job before this with a corporate company, right, with incredible benefits. But you guys, this is so much better. Just this morning, I was thinking, I'm like, this is my like hustle season, hustle day. And I'm like, how funny. They're like, this is my hard stuff. You guys, I've had crazy jobs and I've always been so thankful for them. But my hard days there were so different. Like my hustle days here are like getting on and getting to talk to the like Emerald leaders and then doing like psycho dance moves and getting all sweaty and then like drinking a chocolate shake and then getting on a call with you guys and getting like, it's almost laughable. Honestly, it's almost laughable. And then I get to like, my phone works for me when I'm not working on it, right? And my phone's in the other room and I'm playing with my family and I'm like, oh, I'm like marketing my company right now. I'm like, my phone's doing it, right? So we have every single tool that we need. And if you're struggling, you guys, with motivation, and we're gonna flip this over into more of a conversation in just a second because I want to hear where you guys are struggling. But if you're struggling with motivation, that personal development and those vitals is where it's at, right? And making those things, if it's posting every day on social media or every other day, and then set those parameters for yourself. And it's going to be different for different people, right? For some people, it might be posting 3 times a day on their feed and 20 times a day on their stories. That's not me. For me, my minimum is 1 time a day on my feed and at least 5 times on my stories. For you, if you're working full time or doing something else, like it might be totally different. But like you have to decide what your non-negotiables are and then decide if your dreams are worth it. And then if they are, you don't go at those things for a week or a month or even a year and then say it's not working. You go at those things until it works, right? Because that's how you learn how to build this business. That's how you learn what kind of posts work and what kind of things don't, right? The only reason I'm still here is because I've been failing longer than you have, right? I've been showing up, and even though so many things I've done since the beginning when I started coaching were so like wrong, and like if I looked back now I would be like, oh, that was so messed up that that's what I posted or like what I did, but like but you learn through it, right, by continuing to try. So anyway, Kinsley, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I was kind of just
I'm like a smoker right now too, just so y'all know my voice is like shot.
That was me last weekend after New Year's Eve. I like couldn't talk the next day because I was yelling so much, but yeah, the things that I was kind of thinking about when you were talking about that too is just like I know Keisha talks about it all the time too, but just like taking messy action and just like being willing to do the things and just like fail forward, I feel like is so important. But also just I know that like we use this word consistency so often and we talk about it all the time. And again, like we hear it all the time, but I feel like we don't always like think about what consistency means and like the small, like how the small little things that you do every day really add up over time. And I feel like this last year, there's been a few of the leaders on our team who like I see this over and over again, right? Like where they push the gas super hard, like they floor it. They send like 200 invites and like they're all over their stories and they're all over their posts and like they're flying. And then they literally just stop and they take their foot off the gas altogether. And when you think about it in a car analogy, like I was just thinking about that when Elisa was talking about the car analogy, it's like if you do that, sure, you're zooming and you're going to be coasting for a little while your foot's off the gas, but eventually you're just going to go back to where you have to pump the gas again. And it's like if we think about our business as a moving car and the fact that you don't, in order to get from point A to point B forever, right? You don't have to floor it the whole time, but you do have to keep your foot on the gas consistently. And when you get going fast, when you're on the freeway, you barely even have to touch it. And that's where if we think about like the momentum that you build, when you get to Diamond, right? You're just on the freeway where you just started to get that momentum and you don't have to pump the gas as hard, but you do have to keep your foot on the gas if you want to keep going on the highway, right? Like, I don't know, that really like resonated with me in my head because I was like, I feel like so many times we floor it and then we stop. And we floor it and then we stop. And it's like, that is so much harder to regain that momentum. If we could just take and like putting your foot on the gas a little bit is literally just sending an invite a day. Like one, it's posting on your story every day. It's following up with someone every day. Like it's so much better to do one thing every day than it is to try to do 89 things one day and then not do anything for a week. And I feel like that's what so many people do. And they're like, well, I'm taking massive action. It's like, but that doesn't matter. Like imagine a car on a freeway that just went zoom, zoom. Like you would be like, they need a DUI or something because like they're not driving correctly. Like just consistent gas. I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, that's good. And that's so true. Like if cars were racing, the one that would win would be the one going at a snail's pace, but like moving consistently versus the one that's like, so yeah, I love that. Do you guys though, like, so, I mean, I feel like we took this call too, so you guys know, and we were like, let's just like talk and see what happens. So that all just kind of came out, but hopefully that was helpful. But I wanted to ask you guys like specifically, and we don't have to like go in a circle. And if you don't want to talk, that's totally fine. But I want to hear where you guys are at now and where you feel like you're struggling or where you feel like you need help. Unless you don't need help and you aren't struggling, that's fine too. But maybe just tell us where you're at. Does anybody want to volunteer to go first?
And where you're going, like where you're planning on going.
Oh yeah, we can do that all at once. Yeah. Go Haley.
Okay. Well, so I definitely feel like I'm on the path for elite this year. Like that's what I want to shoot for. And I know that, like you said, it's just getting more emeralds. Like that's what's going to help get me to elite, and then obviously diamonds. But I was curious because I shared on my Instagram story about like income from coaching because I want to attract people into the business that are going to be wanting to coach as well. So I guess I'm kind of curious if you have any tips for when it comes to sharing income or like things to avoid or things like that I should do. Just because I don't want to like, I guess like scare anybody off when I'm sharing income, but I want to make sure that it's like appealing and drawing people in instead of pushing them away.
I think that from an income point, like especially when I look at other MLMs, like other multi-level marketing companies, like when people just focus on income, it's kind of just like white noise and like it's not even necessarily believable. Like when I see someone's story and they're like, they made $2,000 this month, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool, you know? But I feel like the most important thing is to attach like the why or like how that income like actually affected you. So like even early on in my business, I remember there was a month where my car got towed in San Diego. I like parked in Costco, and you're not allowed to do that apparently all day. And it was like a $350 tow thing, and then one of my week paychecks paid for that, and my mind was like blown because I was literally like, how am I going to pay an extra $350 for this stupid car towing situation? And then I kid you not, my paycheck was exactly $350, and I literally was like, oh, this is amazing. But it's like I did a specific post talking about that and talking about how like I had no idea how I was going to pay for this. Luckily, my part-time coaching business like made me able to pay for this. So like talking about what your income is specifically paying for and how that's affecting you and your family and your life, I feel like that's where people are going to relate and they're going to connect. They're not just going to connect to, okay, cool, you made $500 this week, good for you. They're going to connect to that feeling of this is how it's changed my life type thing. And I think it's hard to talk about income, especially in our society. And just, I know how I was raised, like we were raised to never talk about income in our family. But it's one of those things where we're not talking about it to brag. We're talking about it because we want other people to know that they can do it too, and that this can help them too in an actual, real, tangible way. So I think it is really important that, as uncomfortable as it is, that we are sharing it. And maybe that's like once every 2 weeks. Like it doesn't have to be super often, but if we don't share it, and if we don't share, like I even think about the fact that I shared, that my first month in the business or whatever, like how much I made, and I've shared like that random weekly paycheck that helped with my car, and like I've shared how it helped me pay off some of my loans, like all of those little things, like that adds up in my story. And I hope that some people remember those posts from before and resonated to those, rather than like, I don't want to be the coach that waits until I'm making X amount of dollars to share, because that is not relatable. If I wait until I make $1 million and then I say, I made $1 million, like people are going to be like, what? I could never make $1 million. Like people don't relate to that, but people do relate to being able to pay off some of your student loans. They do relate to getting a random ticket or getting your car towed. They do relate to having to buy groceries, paying for gas. Like those things, I feel like are the most impactful.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is that if you guys want to learn from my mistakes, is I still don't, I'm not very great about talking about income, but I personally think that no amount is like too small. So I've been trying to, it's just really hard for me because I'm just weird, and I need to reread You Are a Badass at Making Money, because I'm still just like weird about money sometimes. But like what's crazy is like everything that Kinsley said, I feel like was just spot on. And like I do believe that like no amount is too small. And like I remember before I started actively coaching, I saw a post and it was from one of the coaches who basically said her kids needed new shoes for school, and they were just like coming up kind of short because they had to like buy all the school supplies and like all this stuff, and her husband was the only one working, and she made like $50 on selling like one challenge pack. Like she wasn't even Emerald, she was just sold a challenge pack, and she made $50, and she's like, I went to Payless and got each of my kids a pair of shoes, and like was freaking out about it. Like she didn't even make a post, she just like posted it in a random team page, and I was like, oh my, like I almost started crying. I was like, that's so amazing. Like that her kids were going to wear like old shoes, and then they got like, not that everybody need, but like, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. So like, don't feel like any amount is like too small. And even if you're using it for not something that's like, oh, so hard, whatever, maybe you just wanted like a new, really cool pair of shoes for yourself, or you wanted like, new makeup or whatever, like whatever it is that you're buying, with your money or spending your money on, I think is definitely helpful. So yeah, I think that's a good question though, Haley.
I think too, even like remembering that we can share each other's stories and stuff too. So like when you see things posted in the team page where we are talking about like your paycheck for next week or whatever, like share that on your story and stuff too. Because again, like you might not relate to that specific one, but somebody might relate to, where Nicole spent her paycheck or where Haley needed hers, And so remember like that you can share, I don't know, I feel like the more you share, the better in general. Like when you see other stories being posted about anything in the Made for Brave page, and then Brave Builders and stuff, like let people know what we're doing. Otherwise, because I think sometimes we assume that people know exactly like what we do, but they don't.
Yeah, so I shared like a couple things from the payday pump up in like the Team Fit Foundation page on my story. And then I had like a girl that I was talking to about doing the groups be like, well, like I saw that you guys are like making money on this and I feel like I'm like being asked to like sell something. And I had to like break it down in the message, like explain things to her so she understood she'd only have to coach like if she ever wanted to coach. Have you guys ever had anything like that, or do you have like ways to avoid people maybe feeling that way?
Sometimes I have people ask like, well, do I have to coach? Like when I give them the coach or customer option, and they'll say, well, I don't want to, or they'll say like, I don't want to be a coach, so I'll sign up as a customer. And I always write them back, and I always use my Nana as an example. And I'm like, my Nana is a coach on our team and she doesn't coach. Like it's not required at all. There's no minimums. It's just the same wholesale price that I get. But yeah, typically, unless they're like an older person, which is funny because my Nana's older, obviously, but she didn't care. But some older people will be like, well, no, I don't want to coach because of my social security number or whatever. And I'm like, that's fine. Like I technically will make more money off the bat, right? For us, it's better long-term always when you sign up people as coaches, which is great because it's better for them too. But you do make more money like up front when they're customers. So I'm like, whatever, win-win either way, it's fine. But like, sucks for you if you don't want the discount, but like, okay. So what's cool though, is I think even sharing that, you can even say like, we have a bunch of grandmas. Like you can say we have a bunch of grandmas on our team who use the discount too, and they're not coaching. Like you don't have to, or just tell them, there's no coaching required. Because I think sometimes people do assume that, but most often I think they'll say something just like she did. So I think you did the right thing just explaining it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I think whenever you're talking about income, making sure that you're kind of including some of your why and like why you're passionate about this and why you love it so much. I think that can kind of help too, because then people are correlating the income with like, oh, but she also like loves what she's doing. And rather than like, I feel like again, when I see other like MLMs just posting like paychecks, it's again, it's like so unrelatable that I'm just like, I never would like do that. So yeah, cool. Yeah, of course. Who else? Nicole, do you want to share? I'm being a teacher right now and calling people out.
It's improper to cold call these days, Kinsley. In case I know you've been out of the classroom for a hot minute, but we're legally not allowed to do it anymore because of emotional suffering, apparently.
Interesting. Do you feel emotionally attacked right now? Should I move on?
No, I don't have emotions. It's okay. Just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I have emotions, guys. I'm not a sociopath. Let me think. Now I'm all flustered.
You make me laugh. You're like,
I was just looking at you, so then I called you out.
I mean, my biggest issue is I think, how am I going to say this? I think I needed to pause for a second, which is what I did, and remember why I'm doing this, why I'm doing it, you know what I mean? And it was after watching one of Jackie's team calls where she was like, I just had to go back to being like a participant, doing the programs, drinking the shakes, figuring out how this helped me, and then jump back into building. And that's kind of what I've done the last couple months, is like just jump back into like, how is this helping me? Why is it helping me? And now I'm back to the point where I'm like, okay, now let me bring in the people and help the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's smart. I think that's different than like going for it and then pressing the brake, because going for it always has to include like loving what we're doing. So yeah. I think that's smart. And that's one thing that I know that I've done over the course of the last couple years. And I was going to tell you guys too, like if you start a program and you're like, I'm not feeling it. I kind of hate this. And I don't want to do, like, to a degree. I never want to do my workouts ever, no matter what program it is. I love Transform 20 because they're 20 minutes. I think that's the main reason I'm obsessed with it. But it's also just, like, really fast and, like, high energy. So you're, like, trying to figure it out and then it's done, which is great. But, like, finding programs that you, like, really, really really love, which I did end up sticking with 80 Day Obsession. For me though, after day like 50, it was really hard. So I had to find other ways to like love it, right? I had to find like other ways that it was good for me. And I had to really tie in like having my shake after and getting, that was when I started drinking unicorn crack. And I was like, okay, like now that's like my treat for doing my workout is that I get to drink unicorn crack before I do it. But you always do, you have to find like the reason why you're doing it. So I think that's actually really smart that you did that. And now the trick is, right, now that you've figured out how to like get back involved is like keeping that the same and like always remembering that like you come first in your business. Like we are all individually the most important pieces of our business. So like keeping on top of your own personal game is number one. But then if you can learn how to make kind of the vitals just a part of who you are and a part of your life, that's where, and even with the business, I feel like that's so much of achieving. And I actually said this on the Goals Party call last week, but I think my biggest takeaway from 2018 is realizing that the coaches that do go elite and that succeed and get really, not that that's the only way to succeed, but like the coaches who are really killing it are the coaches who are like really feeling it. It's like the coaches who are like just loving what they're doing, and this is just part of who they are, right? And we're all going to go through like ups and downs like any entrepreneur would. But it's like remembering that that's your ultimate goal. So even in the times when I've had dips in my business, I'm always just working back toward getting to a place where I'm enjoying it and where I'm having fun and improving as a person. So anyway, I think that's really good.
Yeah. Lexi, do you want to share before you go off to your party? Oops. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Sorry if you guys all of a sudden hear like children or my baby start crying there right there. So for me, something I was struggling with, which the video that Lisa posted of Captivate really helped me. So I don't know why I was struggling so hard with it. I know it's really not that complicated, but last night I was finally able to figure it out and set it. So I finally used that last night. So I'm hoping that that starts helping, because one of my biggest things is I was unsure really how to get more followers and new followers, and not just people that I personally know that are just my friends and family or people that I know from high school. So for me, I was wanting new people to share this with. So I think I'm hoping that that will really start helping with that. And then my goals for the year. So as I posted on that goals page, pretty much my goal is to be elite, which is, I know it's like a huge freaking goal because I'm not even technically diamond yet, but that's okay. So for me, that's my goal. I'm really excited about it. So it's really all I have.
That's awesome. And you can totally go elite. Like it's weird because it sounds bigger than it is. It's not like it's okay. You can do it. So that's awesome. And yeah, I think it's really cool that, that you're using Captivate now, because I do think it does take some getting used to. And again, like that's where like every single thing, like as an entrepreneur, no matter what business you're in, right? So much of it is just trying stuff, like Kinsley was saying, like messy action. And that's the only way I learned how to use Captivate was because I like messed around with it for like 5 days, because it is kind of confusing, like local versus cloud, and like, you know, like you have to kind of play with it to like understand it. But once you get it working, it's pretty awesome, because I like it because I feel like it's casting like a good net, and then you get to see whoever follows you back is like your tribe. So it's almost like putting the work on other people, versus before we had to go out and really try to find our people. Now we still, like, I'm still picky about who my Captivate follows, but I consider the people who are following me back like my people. Because I'm sure, you know, they've looked at my account and looked at my social media. So it definitely takes off a lot of time. So I'm so glad that you're using it. It's awesome.
Yes. I kind of do have a question. When I was searching on it, how are you guys, I know when I talked to Kinsley, she was typing in like in my market, people that I'm looking for is other moms. That's one of my big things. So she had typed in mom to see what people would pop up. So when I'm typing in mom, the only people that come up is people that have the word mom in their actual name. So how are you guys finding people that have those qualities, but it's not necessarily in their screen name on Instagram?
Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I normally will, like, you can search mom, and that was the example I gave you, but then also just thinking of, like, actual places maybe that you go as a mom. Like, I don't know, Lisa would, I guess, know more because she's a mom. But for me, I've searched, like, what did I search recently? Like, I'll search different places in, like, Seattle that I go to, or, like, different brands that I like and things like that, because I know that, like, people who like the same types of, like, girly brands as me or whatever, like, might be following that account too. Or, like, for teaching, sometimes I'll type in, like, pencils or crayons. Like, that's really random, but a lot of, like, teacher accounts have pencils and crayons and things. And so, like, I just, same thing, like, play around with it and think of, like, different words that, like, moms would use, or that, like, you would personally search for. Like, do you search for, like, I don't know, like, diapers? Probably not. Or, like, a random, like, mom thing that you would use for your kids.
Yeah, that works too. Well, I was just going to say that one trick that I found, so I actually don't follow lists of accounts at all. So, like, if an account is following a certain number of people, or people are following that account, what I actually do is I click on the number of likes. So I find, like, a picture that resonates with me. So, and I typically look for a picture from an account that's between, like, 1,000 to 15,000, no more than 15,000 for sure, maybe like 10,000 followers, because if you get those bigger mom accounts that are like 35,000 followers or whatever, it's a bunch of junk accounts. So I'm normally looking for those smaller people, and I'm always, like, I have a running list that I keep of, like, names of, like, accounts that resonate with me, and then I'll go to their recent posts, right, and I'll look for a picture, and if I see a picture of, like, you know, kids together or something, you know, something that I would post or something that looks like me, I click on the likes. So it'll say, like, 1,200 likes on this picture. I click on that, and it expands all the people who liked that particular picture. So I feel like it's even more particular. And if I open up a list like that, and if I, you know, I quick select, I select them all, and then I unselect the ones that don't match. So if I see brand names, guys' names, or I just see a picture and I'm like, that's not my person, if it's like a goth or something, no offense, but, like, I'm just like, I don't know. So then I'm like, I'll, like, unfollow those. But if I'm, like, starting on a list, sometimes I go on a list and I'm like unclicking, like, over half of them. I'm like, nope, this isn't my list. And I back out. I don't follow any of those people, and I find a new list, right? Because I want to find likers that are like me. So that's my trick that personally for me, like, I don't follow, like, follow lists or following lists anymore. I literally follow, like, liker lists, the list of people that like specific things, because I just think it's even more specific, because then you're getting, like, all the people that not just follow that account, but like, particularly like that picture that might be about, like, planners or about kids or about, like, whatever. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Cool.
Okay, that helps.
Yay.
And then in terms of, like, going elite and stuff too, I know me and Elise talked about it a whole lot, but I feel like we will specifically, if not Keisha, like, create a group that's, like, designed for the people who are shooting for that, so that we can kind of break it up a little bit more. Because I know for a lot of, like, when I first learned about elite, I was like, I want to go elite, but, like, what the heck is that? And, like, what are the, like, actual steps to get there? So, like, we'll create that later on too. But for right now, like, I love that elite is, like, in your, like, that's our big goals, right? But, like, focus on the little goal that you have right in front of you too. So, like, Lexi, for you, obviously that's getting to diamond. And then we'll, like, go and build from there. But it's kind of cool, like, once you get to diamond, like, knowing that 2-star is your next goal, and that 2-star essentially, like, that doesn't mean that you need to help 2 people, that you, like, you don't need to help 2 girls necessarily on your team go diamond. Like, it could be building your mom or your husband to diamond. and helping someone else go diamond too. Or like, it doesn't really matter who, but like keeping in the back of your head too, that you can essentially build yourself to 2-star is like pretty empowering.
And then once you get to 2-star, you get to open up a second business center in your own name, which Beachbody gives you the ability. Let's all remember. And that's where that substantial income comes in. Because then you start, like, I never sell challenge packs through my first business center anymore. I sell them all through my second business center, which is genealogy placed under J. So we get bonus cycles 3 times over for every challenge pack we sell. And then you can build that second business center out to a star, and then you're a 3-star. And then you only have to get 2 more to go elite. So it's pretty cool how it all works out, but that's why we kind of just go a step at a time. So yeah, hit diamond, then you hit 1-star, right? You do not take your foot off the gas. You might want to even just press it even harder, right? And then go 2-star, and then once you're 2-star, then you can get your 3-star. And then from that point too, you're creating so much what's the word? I don't know, rapport at that point, that people, like, more people who want to build will start joining you at that point too.
Yeah, once they see you like becoming more successful, I feel like that's a big thing. Like when I built my ex-boyfriend's account to diamond, it was like when I hit 1-star is when not random, but like my challengers started being like, wait, what is this? Or like I had more interest in it just because they were seeing me be successful, which they didn't even know in their eyes what 1-star meant, right? But the more that you're like building up, like people will see that and they'll want to jump on board more when they see you being more successful. And I think it's really cool that we have it in our power to be able to rank advance ourselves by building out our mom or our dad or our husbands, or if you don't have a husband, then mom and dad. But yeah. Cool. Does anyone else have anything they want to share? Like Kim or Rose, do you want to share where you guys are at? Any questions, what your goals are? You don't have to if you don't want to. No?
Sorry, I'm getting ready to leave, so that's why I didn't answer right away.
That's okay.
Well, I'll just share like really quickly. I'm shooting for diamond is to just reestablish where I want my business to be. I really had to step back and focus on, and I've told Elisa this, and focus on like finals week and everything that was going on. School was just so crazy, and I wasn't able to focus on my business the right way. And I felt like when I was focusing on it, that it was too like frantic and almost pushy, and like I wasn't going about it in the right way. So even when I was working my business, it wasn't what I wanted. And so that's why I really had to almost step back like altogether and really just focus on like myself and not the business at all. So I'm really working towards actually building relationships with people and getting my diamond back to where I want it to be. And I'm actually not as far away as I had basically told myself that I was. And I've kept like my relationships with my coaches, and they're still all active. So I'm not as far away as I really had thought that I was. And I just assumed that my business had failed and that I was just like this failure in the business that had quit whenever I had things going for me. And so I think that my biggest thing is just getting my momentum back and going and trying to figure out content without it being like not real sounding, because I don't want it to seem like I'm just copying and pasting whatever. I want it to actually be something personal or relatable. And so I feel like that's my biggest thing that I've been struggling with, is actually having content to post. And so I'm not sure where I'm going with this.
No, I think that's all. I mean, I think that's really good. One thing I was going to say, nobody on this team is allowed to call themselves a failure, though. Like, ever.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about what we do, you guys. You cannot fail. And I've never once, like, looked at anyone on our team and been like, oh, they suck, or oh, they're a failure. Like, we're all on a journey, and everybody's journey is going to, like, do this a little bit in any way. And even for people who have sustained, if you guys are, like, looking at like mine, you know, my trajectory, and you're like, oh, well, you've sustained, like even in my sustaining, right? There's been times where I've doubted myself, or like where I've not been able to like show up in the way that I wanted to. But I think that what's so important, not just as coaches at all, but as human beings, right? We have to give ourselves grace and understand that even those dips, they teach us something every single time, right? I remember when Kinsley first started coaching, she went on a trip to like, was it Bali? She went to Bali for like 10 days and like, or longer. I don't remember. She was gone.
It was 2 weeks and pretty much
forever.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah, she did nothing, and then like totally paid for it the next month in her business, and was like, I'm not making any money, and like blah 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 and all this stuff. And I'm like, it's because you did no work last week. Because right, this stuff like catches up to you later. Like it's really interesting. Like you can not work for like a month. Especially when you're like, when you get further in this, you can like not work for a month and make the same amount of money, but then like the next month you're going to have some problems. So like you have to really make sure that you're on top of your game, you know, and that you're building up like that foundation. But in the same breath, like whenever we say you have to make sure you're consistent, you have to make sure like we're speaking to ourselves too. And like, if you haven't done that, it doesn't mean you're a failure by any means, right? And I dropped my diamond for a week. I know Jay dropped his for like months. I mean, there was a time period where we knew that like we didn't have another diamond opposite him, so it was like stupid to keep putting people under him when there wasn't another diamond to like get the diamond bonus, right? So like there were times when Jay didn't even have his diamond for like months, like a year and a half ago. So like there's never, but I never like sat and looked at our business and was like, oh, we failed because we dropped rank, right? It's all about just the journey and like moving forward. And same with our like physical, like fitness journeys, right? You miss workouts, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It's just like you're still working.
And the thing too is like, if you think about, because I know you mentioned like not having feeling good content to post, Rose, but like thinking about your journey, like when you struggle to show up and things like that, those are the exact things that you should be sharing, because those are the things that people are going to relate to, because we're all human and we all have dips in our, whatever our career is, we all have dips in our health and fitness and things like that. And it's like, those are the pain points that people are going to relate to, and they're going to be inspired when you share that pain point and how you came out of it. So like, think about that too. Like if you are focusing on, you know, your personal growth and your fitness journey and all of that, like by focusing on yourself, that automatically gives you all the content that you'll ever need, because you're a human and you're constantly growing. And this business is just about sharing how you're growing and how you're struggling and how you're overcoming those struggles. And like, so to think about it too, I know we mentioned this on the Emeralds call that we were just on, but like sharing like those, dang it, I just lost my train of thought again.
Remembering the 5 areas of your life too, right? It doesn't always have to be about fitness, but like I'm never in my office without a list. There's my content list, content focus, and I have 5 bullet points. I always have that, whether it's on a sticky note or somewhere to glance at, so that if I'm looking at my feed and I'm like, I haven't posted about Austin recently or my kids, like just find a picture. And for me, I know I've told people this before, but I keep all of my, like any good pictures I snap throughout the week, I favorite them. And I unfavorite them once I use them on my feed. But that way I have a really quick, it's almost like a folder, right, on my iPhone, where I go to favorites and I can see all the pictures I have already taken. So I'm never like struggling where it's like 9 o'clock and I'm like, dang, I don't have a picture. Because I take them like throughout the week of like random stuff, or be like, I'll take a picture at my desk and I'll share it. Like I actually shared one the other day that was from like 8 months ago. And it was like a picture of my desk with my notebook. But like when you see stuff, like just try to think ahead. And then like the tricks that are really easy is finding a quote on Pinterest that resonates with you, posting that quote in quotations, and then writing 1 or 2 sentences about it. Like that's an easy out. And even if it resonates with you, right, you're not faking it, because like find something that obviously means something to you, and then write a little something of what it means to you, or even just post the quote if you want to. You guys, there's major Instagram accounts out there. That's not my style, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have to be your style, right? There's huge accounts out there that all they do is post quotes, or all they do is post like a cute picture with quotes. And like, if that's you, that's okay. And like your people will resonate with that too, if you're finding stuff that inspires you. So yeah, but I do think like, I mean, I don't think we should be posting just to post, but on the other hand, I think if you also like, just make it a vital, and then also doing that content batching. So like if you have a day where you're like, you know, because you're so busy during the week. So if there's like a Saturday, and you know that like Saturday mornings, I'm going to set aside an hour and I'm going to write out, you know, 10 posts to post next week, or I'm going to write out 5 posts to post next week, like write them ahead of time. And if you have 5 bullet points, you can write a post on each point, and then you kind of know what you're posting for the coming week. But yeah, content can be hard, but again, that's another one that I think gets a lot easier the longer you do this. Yeah. So it's almost like, again, forcing yourself at the beginning, and eventually it'll become easier.
And also if you, because for me, I know too, if I sit down and I like try to write posts, if I'm not in like a mindset of that, like I cannot for the life of me come up with a single thing to say. Like, I have no brain, like nothing. But like when I'm like doing my makeup and listening to personal development, that is when I have like ideas come, and I'm literally like, I'll just write a couple notes of like, I loved that quote that Darren Hardy just said, or I love, you know, what Keisha just said in that podcast. So I'm going to use that maybe later tonight when I post, or anything like that. Or like, I'll think like, I feel like a lot of it is just being intentional about like what, or aware of like what we're thinking. Like last night when I sat down to work, I was like, this is funny. I said no to going to drinks, and now I'm like working my business and I'm really excited about it. And then I was like, I should post about that real quick. Like, why not? But like, those aren't things that I necessarily thought about at the beginning of my business, just because it wasn't the top of my brain. So I feel like part of it is training yourself by being aware of like, when you're driving in the car and you have that thought of like, wow, I really love this coaching business. Like the community is so cool. It's just so awesome that I'm part of that. Like whenever you have those little thoughts that you're like, this is what I love, or this is what I learned, or whatever, just jot that down real quick so that you can come back to it later. Because I feel like those are the best posts, are like the lessons and the things that just like come to you in the shower. Generally for me, it's in the shower when I'm doing my makeup and when I'm driving, or like when all my thoughts come. So I'll like pull over real quick, I kid you not, and like write a quick little note, and then I like get back on the road. I'm like, that's my post later, yay. But yeah.
Thank you.
So you're one of those people, Kinsley, that's driving like the DUI person. Like she's like driving a little bit, and then she's like, "Ooh, stop! I need to write about stop signs." Just kidding.
Or I'll just like talk about it on my story, because then I'll have it later and I can write posts.
Yeah, that works too. That's funny. I love it. Kim, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Yeah.
There you are.
This has been really helpful. I think like I'm really close to Diamond again at this point.
You're like, Jay the other day was like, Kim is kissing Diamond. I'm like, what does that even?
I'm like 2 people away right now.
Yeah, you're like there.
Yeah, so I'll get that soon this month for sure, which I'm excited about. And then just like revamping kind of like goals for 2019. I knew the holiday, like I flew home to Seattle, and so I knew I was going to like be really off, but I had like intended to do some work while I was there. And then I got really sick while I was there, which happens like every time we go visit now. So I'm still really sick and just like nauseous and like not feeling great. So like any type of workout, like movement has not been happening. And so like, Elisa, your post the other day, like that you missed 10 workouts because you were really sick. I was like, yes. Preach it. And so like trying to get back on track. But I definitely have some like really like exciting just like life stuff happening this year. And so like I know like Elisa, shout out, I need to do like a video chat with you later anyway. Yeah. But so like definitely pushing forward. I have been awful and like I know it, and take full ownership of like hitting the gas super hard and like totally like falling off track. And I've done that for a long time, and that's why I've like not been back at Diamond for a while. And so like being way more consistent and just like daily behaviors, and not trying to do so much at once, is probably like my biggest goal going into the start of the year, is like get diamond and then maintain it, but also like be far more consistent with like a manageable amount of work in the business, because I do so much at my school also that like it kept becoming like this crazy roller coaster ride, because I'm like teaching plus admin work plus like trying to do this business on the side and not really treating it like a business, because I was letting teaching take over so much of my life, like 24/7. So like finding a much better balance is like what I need to go into for 2019.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's so good. And like, yeah, we'll definitely sync up to talk more, but I know that like you have a good why too. So like keeping that in mind, and like, it is hard when you have like multiple loves, and I can speak to that too because of like my book. Like I am so fired up about my book, and I'm so fired up about this. So it can be really hard to like sustain both. And I found for me, like I buy these, weekly, actually Kinsley, I think you gave me this one, but I buy these at Target. They're in the dollar section, but I think they're like $3, and it's like your weekly layout. And every single Sunday I sit down and I write in like any appointments I have, whatever. And I literally, you guys, I'm so passionate about this blocking time off for your business. Like it's so, so important. And I do it for both my book and my business, right? Like I have like every Tuesday and Thursday, typically from like 1 to 4 p.m., I'm just doing my book, right? And then like every Wednesday morning, I'm doing calls, and every, like I book this stuff out in advance. And I think if you can do that, which, I just think it helps a lot, because I know it's different, obviously, but even with like kids and stuff, having that stuff booked out, and then like I have to plan ahead for, obviously, like I'm like, I have to make sure Jay can watch the kids at certain points or like whatever. But then also like knowing that like we can be flexible in that, right? Like if you plan to work your business on a Tuesday night and you end up having like a meeting you have to go to or whatever, right? Just making sure, the biggest thing is that we don't drop those things or push them off, because our own businesses, you guys, what's so crazy, they have the most potential to change our lives, right? But they're the easiest thing to drop because you're the only person you're letting down, right? So it's really easy to drop that stuff. But I think if you remember your why, right? And like for me, that's okay. I'll come out in just a sec. If you remember your why, and like for me, my why is my kids. It's like I don't think like I'm just letting myself down. I'm letting my kids down, right? And like right now, they don't understand that. Like Austin doesn't get it still. But I'm like, if I wasn't the way that I've been about this business, I would be working a real job, and Jay would be working a real job. And we would not be here like a real job. But we would not be here for our kids the way that we are. And we wouldn't be like taking them on a cruise in March. And we wouldn't be like all these different things that we get to do because of Beachbody. So like, I think like for all of us, like making sure you remember that why, and like putting that, whatever it is, really hardcore, like in your mindset, so that when you skip stuff, you realize it's not just you, but it's your like dreams that you're letting go of.
Wasn't it so cool to see Emily Favre's like income progression too? I thought that was, I don't know who saw it in the team page, but I saw Lisa post it. But like just because she kind of like posted the first couple of years in her business, but like just, I don't know, it's really cool to see like how different everyone's journey is, and how
like, yeah, a coach for like 5 years and was making like a couple $100s every month for like 4 years, and then last year in January decided to go all in with 80-day obsession and started using Captivate, and like went crazy with sharing her life journey. And like she had some miscarriages and just hard stuff too, but like shared just so much about her journey. And then she made $27,000 in her 5th June, like literally just June, like 1 month. But like every other year she only made like $100 or something. But like, again, so cool to see that like consistency, but then her followers all saw her show up in like a crazy big way too. I have to go get the baby.
I was just going to say, yeah, I think it's really cool. I don't know. And who saw it? It was posted like 2 years ago, but I randomly tagged Lexi in it because we were talking about it. But that brother and sister, I don't even know who they are, honestly, but it's a brother and a sister, some Pat and someone, but like an Amy maybe, but just showing how he built the business for 8 years. And at first he didn't really treat it like a business and he made like $4,000 in the year. But then the next year he made $8,000 and the next year he made $16,000. And I just like noted that even though he still, I think he was like he was still consistently helping people, but like dabbling, right? His income still doubled. Like, and when I look at my income, like I haven't been here for 2 years, but it's like, I made like 9,000 in my or like close to 10,000 in my first year. And then it's like close to 30,000 in the second year. And it's like, so literally tripling. Like if you just think about like, it doesn't even matter where you are, but just think about if your income doubles in this next year and then the next year and then the year after, like, and think about even if it's not doubling, like even if it's just like, if you think about a corporate job, not that I've ever worked a corporate job, but in teaching too, like the raises that you get, the percentages, right? It's like, I don't know, 2% maybe. Like the fact that we have the potential to double our income per year is kind of crazy, right? I don't know, that like all of those things like really resonate with me because it's literally just a matter of like sticking around and working hard for long enough. Like if you're here in 8 years working hard, like you will be, yeah. Anyway, I like it all amped up about that. Oh, hey, baby M. I feel like we should probably get off because it's already 11:10 and Elisa's dancing then and it's making me feel.
Baby's so sad. She's still got a cold, you guys. We all, well, not Jay, but me and Austin and Em all got really sick. So she's still got it. All right. Well, love you guys though. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Hold on. Oh, okay.
One quick photo. Did we be done? Okay, everyone smile. Wait, Elisa. At first it was just like your crotch, but I got it. Okay. Love you all. Have a good weekend. Bye.